Lina balanced the heavy laundry basket against her hip as she hurried down the long, polished hallway. The Ogun mansion was already awake. The air smelled like soap, floor polish, and scrambled eggs from the kitchen. Somewhere upstairs, the madam's voice echoed faintly, giving orders to another housemaid. "Lina, move quickly," the head housekeeper, Madame Ngozi, had said that morning. "The guests will arrive tomorrow. Every room must be perfect." So Lina moved quickly. She had been working in the mansion for 8 months, and every day felt like an exam she could not afford to fail. One mistake could send her back to the one-room house she shared with her mother and younger brother in a rough part of Oshodi. They survived on her salary and her mother's small food business. Losing this job was not an option. Her bare feet, tucked inside simple black flats, glided over the glossy tiles. She turned the corner that led toward the back door, her arms full of freshly ironed shirts and Ankara dresses. She wanted to hang them in the sun before Madame Ngozi came around to inspect. Outside, the compound was bright and quiet. The heavy black gate had just opened. A sleek black car rolled in, its surface shining under the Lagos sun. Lina did not see it yet. Her eyes were on the clothes in her hands, making sure none of them slipped. She pushed the door open with her shoulder and stepped outside. At that exact moment, the car stopped, and a tall man stepped out. Lina saw only a dark shape moving in front of her. Before she could stop, the laundry basket hit something solid. Thump! The basket shook. The shirts and dresses flew into the air, then rained down onto the clean floor. The man stumbled back, his leather briefcase sliding from his hand and falling with a heavy sound. One of the shirts landed on his shoulder, another dropped right on his expensive shoe. Lina froze. Her heart began to pound so loudly she could hear it. Her throat went dry. For a second, her body refused to move. Then panic rushed in. "I'm so sorry, sir," she cried, dropping to her knees at once. Her voice trembled as she grabbed at the scattered clothes. "I did not see you. Please, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Her fingers shook as she lifted the shirts, checking carefully that none of them had picked dirt from the floor. She did not dare look up at the man. All she saw were his polished shoes and the slim edge of his dark trousers. "If this is the owner, I am finished," she thought. "What is your name?" a deep voice asked. Something in the way he spoke made her lift her head, even though fear sat heavy on her chest. Their eyes met. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, and well-dressed in a navy blue suit that fit him perfectly. His skin was a rich dark brown, and his jaw was clean-shaven. But it was his eyes that held her. They were sharp, observant, but not harsh. Right now, they were watching her with a strange softness. Lina swallowed hard. "My name is Lina, sir," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm one of the housemaids. Please, I am very sorry. I did not mean to." She glanced at the fallen briefcase and felt another wave of fear. "I hope I did not damage anything." Instead of shouting or frowning, the man bent down calmly and picked up the briefcase himself. Then, to Lina's shock, he also bent to help her gather the clothes. Sir, please," she stammered. "You don't have to." "It's all right," he said quietly. "No harm done." No harm done. Lina blinked. That was not what she expected to hear from a man whose suit alone probably cost more than her entire monthly salary. Up close, Lina noticed the lines of tiredness around his eyes, the kind that came from long days and heavy responsibility. This is not just a rich man, she thought. This is someone important. He handed her one of the shirts, his fingers brushing hers lightly. For a moment, the world felt strangely quiet. She could hear the distant sound of a generator and a bird somewhere in the garden, but here, in this small space between them, time felt slower. "Are you all right?" he asked. Lina blinked again. "Me? Yes. You." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "You look like you saw a ghost." She shook her head quickly. I thought I hurt you, sir. Or spoiled something. I am truly sorry." "You did not hurt me," he replied gently, "and nothing is spoiled. I have been through worse than a laundry attack." His small joke caught her off guard. A nervous laugh escaped her lips, surprising even her. The fear in her chest eased a little. He watched her carefully, noticing the way her bright brown eyes lit up when she laughed, the way her dark skin glowed under the sun despite the simple worn uniform she wore. Something shifted inside him. He came here thinking only about meetings, contracts, and numbers, but for one brief moment, all of that faded. He saw only her. She stood up quickly, balancing the basket again. "Thank you, sir. I will get out of the way now." He straightened, still looking at her as if trying to understand something. "My name is Adewale," he said. "Adewale Ogun." The name hit her like another soft shock. She had heard that name many times on the television in the house sitting room. Billionaire industrialist, real estate king, tech investor, philanthropist. She had seen his face on magazine covers and on the news when the madam watched business programs. And now he was standing in front of her. Lina's mouth fell open for a second before she caught herself. "Good morning, sir," she said again, more respectfully this time, her head bowing slightly. He chuckled softly. "You already greeted me, Lina," he said, "but thank you." The back door opened, and Madame Ngozi stepped out, her eyes widening when she saw Adewale. "Good morning, sir," she exclaimed quickly, smoothing her apron. "We did not know you would arrive today." "I came for a quick meeting with your madam's husband," Adewale replied, his eyes still lingering on Lina. "But I was also welcomed by your laundry team." Madame Ngozi's head snapped toward Lina. "Welcomed how?" Her voice turned sharp. "What did you do?" Lina opened her mouth, but Adewale spoke first. "She did nothing wrong," he said firmly. "I was not looking where I was going, and we bumped into each other. That's all." Madame Ngozi looked confused, then relieved. "Ah, thank God, sir. Lina, be careful next time, you hear?" "Yes, ma," Lina answered quietly. Adewale gave Lina one last look, his gaze soft but thoughtful. "Be careful," he echoed, though his tone was gentle. "We cannot afford to lose you to laundry accidents." Again, that small smile, again that strange warmth in his eyes. He turned and walked toward the main entrance of the house, his briefcase in hand. Lina watched him go, her heart beating a little faster than before. She could still feel where his fingers had brushed hers, still hear the calm kindness in his voice. Inside the house, Adewale moved through the hallway he had walked many times for business meetings. But something was different today. For the first time in a long time, his mind was not full of numbers and deals. Instead, he kept seeing a pair of bright brown eyes filled with fear, then surprise, then shy laughter. A poor maid, he thought, a small smile forming on his lips. And yet, I cannot stop thinking about her. The sun rose gently over the Ogun mansion the next morning, casting soft light on the white compound walls. Birds chirped near the garden fountain as the housemaids swept the front steps, mopped the halls, and prepared breakfast for the family. Everything looked normal, everything except Lina's heart. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Adewale's calm smile, his warm eyes, the way he bent to pick up her scattered clothes, as if he were not one of Nigeria's most powerful men. She had worked in the mansion long enough to know how the wealthy behaved, and none of them ever bent down for a maid. Her thoughts were interrupted when Kemi, one of the junior maids and her closest friend, nudged her side playfully. "Lina, you have been staring at the same plate for 10 minutes, she teased as they arranged breakfast trays. "Are you fasting, or did something happen yesterday?" Lina hesitated, her fingers tightening around the tray. "Nothing happened," she said too quickly. Kemi raised a brow. "That is the kind of voice people use when something did happen." Lina sighed, lowering her voice. "I accidentally bumped into a visitor yesterday." Kemi gasped dramatically. "Ha! Did they shout at you? Are you safe?" Lina shook her head. "He didn't shout. He was kind." Kemi stopped arranging cutlery and stared at her closely. "A kind rich man? From this house?" She placed one hand on her hip. "Lina, please don't enter trouble. Talk true. Who was this man?" Lina swallowed. "Adewale. Adewale Ogun." Kemi froze. Her eyes widened, her jaw dropped, and her mouth hung open for a full 5 seconds. "You mean the Adewale Ogun? Billionaire Adewale? The one on TV?" Lina nodded slowly. Kemi squealed so loudly that Lina had to cover her mouth. "Do you know how many women pray to accidentally fall inside that man's arms? And you hit him with clothes. Oh, Lina." "Kemi, please," Lina whispered, glancing around. "Nobody should hear this." But somebody had heard. From behind the kitchen door, 2 other maids, Rita and Folake, exchanged glances, their eyes shimmering with curiosity. They leaned closer to the doorway as if gossip were oxygen. So that is why he was smiling when he left, Rita whispered loudly enough. Ha! A whole billionaire smiled at a maid. Maybe he pitied her, Folak added, folding her arms. Men like that do not look twice at girls like us. Lina felt her cheeks burn. It was nothing, she insisted. Please forget it. But gossip in a Nigerian household travels faster than Harmattan fire. By noon, even the drivers knew. Meanwhile, far from the noise of the mansion, Adewale sat in his glass office in Victoria Island. Tall buildings surrounded him, and the distant sound of traffic rose from the streets below. His desk was covered with documents, property contracts, and stacks of reports. His assistants stood ready with schedules and calls. But Adewale wasn't listening. He stared out the window, seeing nothing but the image of a maid with bright brown eyes and trembling hands. He sighed quietly. Adewale, his friend Kunle said from the sofa, you have been staring at that window like you are waiting for a revelation. Adewale leaned back in his chair. Do you believe a single moment can change everything? Kunle laughed. For you, the workaholic king of real estate? The man who does not even remember the last time he went on a date. He shook his head. Something is wrong. Talk to me. Adewale hesitated. Yesterday I met someone. Kunle's eyes widened. A woman. He nodded. Kunle sat up. Who is she? Daughter of a politician? A CEO? Someone from your business circle? Adewale's voice softened. No, she is a maid. Kunle blinked, confused. A maid where? At the mansion I visited yesterday. Kunle folded his arms slowly. So, a maid bumped into you, and now you are staring through windows like a lovesick teenager. Adewale smiled faintly. You were not there. Kunle sighed dramatically. Clearly, because the Adewale I know does not leave meetings early to chase butterflies. It wasn't like that, Adewale said, rubbing his forehead. She was afraid. She thought I would shout at her. But when she looked at me... His voice trailed off. Kunle stared at him in disbelief. You have fallen for her. Adewale didn't deny it. Kunle stood up, pacing slowly. Adewale, think about this. You are a billionaire. She is a maid. Society will not understand. Adewale's jaw tightened. I don't care about society. Kunle paused. Does she know who you are? Yes, Adewale said quietly. She recognized my name. Kunle nodded slowly. Then be careful. Women treat powerful men differently when they know the size of their bank accounts. Adewale frowned. She didn't. Kunle smiled knowingly. You believe she is different. I know she is, Adewale said firmly. Kunle sighed. Then you better prove it. One meeting is not enough. Adewale stood abruptly, grabbing his car keys. Kunle blinked. Where are you going? Adewale looked at him as if the answer were obvious. To check on her. Back at the mansion, Lina was wiping the living room table when the heavy gate buzzed open. She didn't look up at first. Cars came in and out all the time. But when she heard the sharp purr of the same sleek engine she recognized from yesterday, her heart skipped. Slowly, she turned. Adewale stepped out of the car, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers. The entire staff froze. Even the chef peered out from behind the kitchen curtains. Lina's breath caught in her throat. Why is he here? Again? Adewale walked straight toward her, his steps confident, but his eyes gentle. I came to check on you, he said, his voice warm. Lina blinked rapidly, her hands trembling slightly. Check. On me? He nodded, offering her the flowers. You looked shaken yesterday. I wanted to be sure you were all right. The whispering around the room grew louder. Rita gasped. Folaka covered her mouth. Kemi almost dropped a tray. Adewale ignored them. His focus was on only one person. Lina. Her chest tightened. Nobody, not even her employers, had ever brought her flowers. She took them carefully. They are beautiful, she whispered. So are you, he replied softly. The room went silent, completely silent. And Lina's world shifted, just a little more than it already had. The days that followed felt unreal to Lina. Every morning, she woke up before dawn, just as she always had, tying her hair neatly and slipping into her faded uniform. She swept, scrubbed, and cooked. She washed bed sheets and polished silverware. Nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Ever since Adewale's unexpected visit, with flowers, every eye in the mansion followed her. Every whisper seemed to include her name. Every quiet corner felt filled with hidden glances. Rita and Folak watched her like hawks. Kemi hovered protectively. Even the drivers and gardeners exchanged knowing grins whenever Lina walked by. It was overwhelming. The Ogun family had traveled out of Lagos that week, leaving only the staff behind. The mansion felt strangely quiet, as if holding its breath. And each day, like clockwork, Adewale returned. Sometimes he brought flowers, sometimes small snacks from a bakery he liked. Sometimes he brought nothing at all, just himself and his warm smile. At first, Lina tried avoiding him. She hid in the laundry room, the pantry, even behind the generator house once. But somehow, Adewale always found her. Always. Today was no different. Lina was in the garden trimming overgrown roses when she sensed a familiar presence behind her. Her heart fluttered before she even turned. "Are you hiding from me again?" Adewale asked gently. She spun around, startled. "No, sir. I was just—" He chuckled. "It is all right. You don't have to explain." His eyes traveled over the neatly trimmed leaves. "You are good at gardening." I try," she replied softly. Adewale took a step closer, hands in his pockets. "Lina, do you want me to stop visiting?" Her breath caught. The question was simple, but the weight behind it felt heavy. "Sir, your visits are kind, but they make people talk." "Let them talk," he said firmly. "I don't want trouble," she whispered. "The staff will think things." "What things?" he asked. "That a billionaire has no business spending time with someone like me." Adewale studied her quietly. "Lina, I don't spend time with you because of your job." His voice softened. "I spend time with you because I feel something when I see you, something I cannot ignore." Lina's hands tightened around the scissors. "Sir, please, do not say things like that. People like us do not dream of such things." "But you feel something too," he said calmly. "Don't you?" Lina's chest rose and fell quickly. She didn't answer. She couldn't. A rich man, this rich man, should not speak to her this way. It was dangerous. It was confusing. It was impossible. Yet her heart betrayed her. She did feel something, something she did not know how to name. A light breeze brushed across the garden, lifting a strand of her hair. Adewale reached forward gently, tucking it behind her ear. Lina flinched, not from fear, but from surprise at how soft his touch felt. His fingers lingered for a moment. "I am not here because of what you do," he said quietly. "I am here because of who you are." Lina felt her throat tighten. "Sir, please." He smiled sadly. "Then tell me to stop coming." She looked up at him, really looked. The strong jawline she had seen on magazine covers, the gentle eyes that never carried pride, the warm presence that made her chest flutter. She opened her mouth and closed it, tears gathered in her eyes. I cannot tell you to stop." His expression softened instantly. Relief crossed his face. "Then I will not stop." Inside the mansion, the gossip was now louder than the vacuum cleaner. Folake leaned against the kitchen counter, arms folded. "So now she is rejecting our cleaning jobs but accepting flowers from billionaire men." Rita nodded eagerly. "She wants to act innocent, but we can see what is happening. A maid catching a billionaire's attention. This is how girls like her jump class." "She should be careful," Folake added. "Men like that don't marry girls like her. They just visit and leave." Kemi, overhearing them, stepped closer. "Stop talking about her like that. Adewale is not a bad man." Rita scoffed. "And you know him personally?" "I know Lina," Kemi said firmly. "She is not using him. She is afraid of him, if anything." Folake snorted. "Afraid? A billionaire bringing flowers to a maid. Something is going on." Kemi pointed a finger at them. "Jealousy will not help you. If it is their destiny, nothing you say will stop it." The two maids exchanged bitter glances. The mansion felt turbulent, some rooting for Lina, some waiting for her downfall. Later that afternoon, Adewale and Lina sat under a mango tree in the garden. He had brought a portable speaker, and soft violin music played in the background. Lina closed her eyes, listening. "I have never heard anything like this." "It is classical music," Adewale explained, watching her with a gentle smile. "It helps me breathe when the world becomes too loud." "It sounds peaceful," she whispered. He nodded. They talked about music, about the cities he had traveled to, about the villages she had grown up in. The conversation flowed so naturally that time slipped away without notice. At one point, Adewale looked at her closely. "Lina, can I ask you a question?" She nodded cautiously. What was your dream before life pushed you into this job? Lina blinked in surprise. No one had ever asked her that before. I wanted to be a teacher, she said softly. I love helping children learn. Adewale smiled warmly. You would be a good teacher. You have a gentle spirit. Lina looked down shyly. Life does not always give us what we want. But sometimes it gives us what we never expected, he replied. Their eyes met again. There it was, that invisible pull neither of them could deny. A connection too powerful, too dangerous, too real. As the sun dipped behind the mansion, casting a soft golden glow, Lina realized something she never thought possible. She was falling in love with a billionaire. And he already loved her. For the first time in her life, Lina walked through the mansion with a heart full of light. Each day with Adewale had pulled her into a world she never imagined she would touch. Conversations that stretched her mind, music that soothed her soul, and a man who looked at her as though she mattered. But if love was a gentle wind, rumor was a raging storm. And the storm had begun. The mansion felt louder than ever. The staff whispered in the corridors, in the kitchen, in the laundry room. Whenever Lina passed, voices fell suddenly silent. Eyes followed her, some curious, some jealous, some silently angry. One evening, after a long day of cleaning, Lina entered the servants' quarters only to find Rita and Folek waiting, arms crossed. You're becoming proud, aren't you? Rita said sharply. Lina frowned. What do you mean? Folek scoffed. Do you think we don't see it? You walk around with your head high because a billionaire is visiting you. That's not true, Lina replied quietly. Oh, please, Rita snapped. It is obvious what you are doing. You think you can use your innocent face to catch him? A man like Adewale? Folek stepped forward. Listen, Lina, be careful. Men like him don't marry girls like you. They only play with you. Lina felt something crack inside. He is not like that. Rita laughed bitterly. That is what all poor girls say before their hearts break. Lina kept her chin up, her voice steady. I am not trying to impress anyone. I am only doing my job. But her voice trembled. Folek noticed and smiled triumphantly. Let's see how long this fantasy lasts. They pushed past her, leaving the room heavy with their words. The next morning, Adewale returned to the mansion earlier than usual. He carried a brown box, the kind used for gifts. But before he could reach the back garden, where Lina usually worked, Madame Ngozi intercepted him. Good morning, sir, she greeted politely, though her eyes held discomfort. Please, may I speak with you? Adewale paused. Of course. Madame Ngozi drew in a slow breath. Sir, this house is unsettled. Your visits are causing tension among the staff. Adewale raised a brow. Tension? Yes, sir. Some believe Lina is receiving special treatment. Others feel you are distracting her from her responsibilities, and some fear it will affect discipline. Adewale's expression hardened. I see. He wasn't angry at Madame Ngozi, she was only doing her job. But the idea that people were judging Lina, hurting her, whispering about her, he clenched the box in his hand. Where is she? He asked. Madame Ngozi hesitated. By the laundry area. He nodded and walked away, his steps firmer. Lina was folding towels when he arrived. Her heart lifted instantly, but the exhaustion beneath her eyes did not escape him. You look tired, Adewale said softly. She shook her head. It is nothing. But he knew she was lying. Adewale sat on the bench beside her. Lina, talk to me. Her hands stilled. For a moment she stared at the towel without seeing it. Finally she whispered, It is not easy. People talk, they say things. What things? He asked gently. That someone like you should not be close to someone like me, Lina said, her voice cracking slightly. That I'm pretending to be innocent so you will. She swallowed. Choose me. Adewale's chest tightened painfully. Lina, look at me. She lifted her eyes slowly. You do not have to pretend, he said. You are more genuine than anyone I know. Lina felt a tear slip down her cheek. She brushed it away quickly, embarrassed. I don't want trouble, sir. Adewale shook his head. You are not the trouble. They are afraid of the unexpected. He placed the brown box on her lap. What is this? She asked softly. A gift, he said. I thought it might make you smile. She opened it slowly. Inside was a simple, beautiful necklace. Silver with a small heart-shaped pendant. Not extravagant, not showy, just elegant. Her lips parted slightly. "Sir, this is too much." "No," he said softly. "It is just enough." Lina ran her fingers over the pendant, her heart swelling. "Thank you," she whispered. "It is beautiful." "So are you," he replied. She looked up sharply, her cheeks warming. Adewale leaned closer. "Lina, I want you to understand something. I don't care about what people say. I care about you." Before she could respond, someone shouted her name. "Lina!" Rita stormed into the laundry area, her face twisted with fury. Folake followed closely, equally shocked. They froze when they saw the necklace on Lina's lap, and how close Adewale sat beside her. Rita's voice trembled with disbelief. "So it is true." Folake's eyes darkened. "A billionaire is giving gifts to a maid. In broad daylight." Lina stood immediately. "Please stop. This is not—" But before she could finish, a cold, sharp voice echoed through the hallway. "What is going on here?" Everyone turned. It was Madame Ogun, the owner of the mansion, a wealthy, powerful woman with a reputation for strict discipline. Her eyes swept over the room, landing on Lina, then on Adewale, then on the necklace. Her lips hardened. Lina's stomach dropped. A storm had already begun. But the worst part of it was that Lina and Adewale were standing at the very center. The air in the laundry room tightened as Madame Ogun stepped fully inside. She wore a long flowing black and gold wrapper, her posture tall, confident, unshakable. The kind of presence that made even senior staff straighten their backs immediately. Adewale rose slowly from the bench. Lina stood trembling beside him, the necklace still in her hand. Madame Ogun's eyes moved from Lina to the open gift box, to Adewale. Something unreadable passed across her face. "What exactly is happening here?" she asked, her tone calm but cold. Rita and Folake stood frozen behind her, suddenly regretting their excitement. Lina's throat tightened. "Madam, I can explain." But Adewale stepped in front of her protectively. "There is nothing to explain, Ma," he said softly but firmly. "I gave Lina a gift." Madame Ogun raised an eyebrow. "A gift? To my staff?" "Yes." "And why?" His answer was immediate. "Because I care about her." The room fell dead silent. Rita gasped. Folake covered her mouth. Even Madame Ngozi, who had rushed to the scene, stopped mid-step. Lina felt her knees wobble. "Care about her?" He said it openly. In front of the mansion's owner. Madame Ogun folded her arms. "Adewale, do you even understand the message this sends? This is a house of order, a house with structure. A billionaire giving jewelry to a maid in front of the other staff. You think that will not create chaos?" Adewale did not flinch. "With respect, Ma, her position does not change her worth." Lina's breath caught. Madame Ogun's eyes hardened. "Close your eyes, Adewale. She is beneath your class. It will never work." Lina lowered her head in shame. The words sliced straight through her heart. But Adewale stepped closer to Madame Ogun. "Ma, with all respect, my feelings are not up for negotiation." Madame Ogun blinked. "Feelings?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I have feelings for Lina." Lina's hand flew to her mouth. Tears gathered instantly. "No," Madame Ogun said, shaking her head. "No, I will not allow a scandal to start in my house." Adewale took a slow breath. "Then I will take responsibility." "For what?" Madame Ogun asked sharply. "For everything," he said. "For every rumor, every whisper, every storm. But not for hiding how I feel." The words struck every person in the room. Lina stared at him, eyes filled with disbelief and something deeper. Something that looked like hope. Madame Ogun looked between the two of them, confused and irritated. "Adewale, you cannot make impulsive decisions like this. Do you know how Lagos will talk? How your family will look at you?" "They already talk," Adewale said calmly, "and they will keep talking, whether I date a billionaire's daughter or a maid. I can't live my life for society." Madame Ogun's voice lowered. "And what about her? Do you think she is prepared for the weight of your life? The pressure, the scrutiny, the world watching?" Adewale looked at Lina gently. "She is stronger than you think." Lina's heart tightened. Nobody had ever described her that way. Madame Ogun sighed. "Lina, come here." Lina stepped forward, wiping her hands on her apron nervously. "Look up," Madame Ogun ordered. Lina lifted her gaze slowly. "Do you like him?" Madame Ogun asked. The question hit Lina like thunder. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Adewale turned to look at her too. Lina swallowed. I don't know what to say. Say the truth, Madame Ogun insisted. Do you like him? Tears slipped from Lina's eyes, soft, terrified tears. I respect him. I care about him. But I don't want to bring shame to anyone. That is not what I asked, Madame Ogun said. Do you like him as a man? Silence. Everyone waited. Finally, Lina took a shivering breath. Yes, she whispered. I like him. Adewale closed his eyes briefly, relief washing over him. Madame Ogun stepped back, shaking her head. The world is changing, she murmured. Then she sighed deeply. I cannot stop a grown man, and I will not punish a girl for being honest. Lina blinked in confusion. Go, Madame Ogun said quietly, waving them both away. Leave this room before the staff turn it into a marketplace of gossip. Adewale reached for Lina's hand instinctively. She hesitated, then allowed it. As they walked out together, the staff watched in stunned silence. For the first time, Lina didn't feel like a maid walking through the mansion. She felt like someone whose life had just changed. Outside, under the shade of the mango tree where they first shared music, Adewale turned to face her. You were brave in there, he said softly. She shook her head. I was shaking. But you still told the truth. Lina looked at the necklace in her hand. I never imagined someone like you could care about someone like me. Adewale stepped closer. Lina, from the moment you bumped into me, something shifted. I cannot explain it. I only know I have never felt anything like this. Her eyes glistened. I don't know how to live in your world. Then let me meet you in yours, he said gently. Lina swallowed hard. What happens now? Adewale held her hands. Now we take one step at a time, slowly, carefully, together. She looked up, and for the first time she did not feel fear. She felt hope, the kind that rises quietly, the kind that grows gently, the kind that feels like destiny unfolding in slow motion. A small, breathless smile touched her lips. Okay, she whispered. Together. Adewale smiled back, lifting her hand and pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. And just like that, a poor maid and a billionaire stood under the mango tree, two worlds no longer separate, bound by something stronger than fear, gossip, or class. A beginning neither of them expected, but one both of them were suddenly ready to fight for. Weeks passed, and everything in Lina's life changed without warning. Quietly, gently, but deeply. Adewale kept his promise. He did not rush her. He did not overwhelm her. He simply showed up, steadily, consistently, until Lina realized she no longer feared the world he came from. She began to understand that his gentleness was not an act, not charity, and not pity. It was love. Steady, honest love. The mansion staff adjusted slowly. Gossip faded when nothing scandalous happened. Some staff still stared, but most grew curious rather than cruel, and Madame Ogun, to everyone's surprise, kept her distance, saying nothing more on the matter. Perhaps she had seen something in Lina. Perhaps she had seen something in Adewale, or perhaps she simply understood that when two people choose each other, the world eventually learns to accept it. Whatever the reason, the storm passed. One warm Saturday morning, Adewale invited Lina to an art exhibition at a quiet gallery in Ikoyi. It wasn't loud or crowded, just a serene place filled with soft lighting and beautiful paintings. Lina had never been inside an art gallery before. She stood in the middle of the room, her hands clasped together, admiring a painting of a woman sitting beside a river. The colors were soft, blue, green, gold, and the woman looked peaceful, almost like someone waiting for her destiny to arrive. Adewale watched Lina instead of the art. What do you think? He asked. Lina blinked slowly, eyes still on the painting. She looks like she has finally found peace. Adewale smiled. Or maybe peace found her. Lina turned to him softly. I never imagined my life could feel like this, like I'm allowed to breathe. You are allowed to feel everything, he said gently. You deserve softness too. Her heart fluttered. Adewale, why me? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Because you see me, not my money, not my cars, not my name, just me. Lina swallowed. That day we collided. I thought I'd lose my job. And I thought I'd lose my mind, he said with a small smile. Because I could not stop thinking about you. She blushed and looked down at her fingers. Adewale reached into his pocket. Lina, he said softly, I want to show you something. Her heart raced for a moment. Was it a ring? Was he? But when he brought out the object, it wasn't jewelry. It was a letter. I spoke to a school, he said quietly, a training center for adult learners. They have a program for people who want to become teachers. Lina's breath caught. Teachers? He nodded. You told me it was your dream. She covered her mouth with both hands, tears rising instantly. Adewale, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything yet, he replied gently. The program is flexible. You can still work while attending classes. I wanted to give you the chance to choose your future. A tear slipped down her cheek. Nobody has ever done something like this for me. I want you to stand in the world confidently, he said, not because of me, but because of you. Lina stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him without thinking. She felt his heartbeat against her cheek, steady, strong, warm. For the first time, she hugged him without fear. Later that week, Adewale visited Lina's home in Oshodi. It was a one-room building with cracked walls and a single window. Lina's mother, Mama Ijoma, stood in front of the house with flour still on her arms from her baking business. She stared at Adewale for a full minute. You are the man, she asked, squinting. Adewale smiled politely. Yes, Ma, I am the man. You want to marry my daughter? She asked again. Mama, Lina gasped, embarrassed. Adewale chuckled. I want to take things slowly. But yes, she is important to me. Mama Ijoma studied him carefully, her eyes sharp and deeply protective. After a long pause, she nodded once. If she smiles because of you, then you are welcome. But if you make her cry, I know, Adewale replied with a playful bow, I will answer to you. Mama Ijoma cracked a smile. Good, now come inside and eat. Lina's face burned red, but she laughed through her embarrassment. Adewale entered the house willingly, sitting on a wooden stool, eating homemade beans and plantain cooked over a charcoal stove. And he loved it. Nothing about Lina's world scared him. Nothing embarrassed him. Nothing felt beneath him. If anything, he felt closer to himself. 2 months later, under the mango tree where they first found their quiet space, Adewale stood in front of Lina again. The evening sun painted the sky orange. Lina wore a simple cream dress, her hair tied neatly. Her eyes still held the same humility and gentleness that had captured him months ago. Adewale held her hands. Lina, remember when I asked if you would let me walk with you? She nodded with a shy smile. I don't want to walk behind you or ahead of you, he said softly. I want to walk beside you. Always. Her heart trembled. Adewale. He reached into his pocket. This time, it wasn't a letter. It was a small velvet box. Lina covered her mouth with her hands, tears floating instantly. Adewale knelt, right there on the garden grass of the mansion where she once swept floors and folded laundry. Lina Ijoma, he said in a steady voice, when we first met, you hit me with clothes, and somehow that was the best day of my life. You changed something in me forever, and I don't ever want to go back to a life without you. Will you marry me? Lina burst into tears, soft, beautiful, overwhelming tears. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. Yes, Adewale, I will. He slipped the ring on her finger. The staff watching from the balcony cheered. Kemi screamed with joy. Even Madame Ogun wiped a quiet tear from her eye. A poor maid had not just found love. She had been chosen, seen, honored, respected, and finally cherished. A billionaire had not just found a partner. He had found peace. And together they stepped into a future neither of them had planned, but both were grateful destiny had written. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you like the story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.